What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler. A true banger, if you will. Today we're talking about the time that I drank some fake lean. Listen, this happens fairly often. Not for me, but for a lot of people. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, head over to goblin420.com and check out some of the new holiday merch options. We've got some new hoodies available now, and all purchases are 15% off all month long. That's right. The discount is automatically applied. So all you got to do is head over to the merch site, put some items in your cart. We've got stickers, we've got new hoodies, tons of exciting new stuff, and the discount will automatically be applied. So head over to goblin420.com and check out the new merch today. 15% off all November long. Thank you guys for supporting, and without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So this happened back in early 2020, and this was right before COVID went down, which is kind of crazy to think about. Things were very different back in these days. But on this fateful day, I had to drive out of my town for a court date. The ironic thing is, I had to drive in order to get to a court date that was for driving on a suspended license. So in order to get to this court date, I had to drive on my suspended license because it was about an hour and a half away. I had to go to court in a town called Bloomington, Illinois, which those of you who are from Illinois are probably familiar. This is a college town. I had a lot of friends who went to school here, and at this point, a lot of my friends were still enrolled there. Now I'm a little too old for that, and most of my friends have graduated by now, but I still have a couple who are going there. But for the most part, back in these days, all the homies who ended up going to college went to this particular school, right? So a day before I get up there and have to drive up there for court, I hit up some homies and I try to figure out if there's anything I can do while I'm there. I am hitting up all the old friends, people I hadn't seen in a while. I'm hitting up Bob, I'm hitting up Brad, I'm hitting up all the homies, right? And Brad ends up answering me. He's like, yeah, dude, come link up. Let me know when you're out here. We could do something whenever. So I tell him, I'm like, bet, dude, I'll get a hotel. I'll spend the night and we can link up. I'll have the whole day ahead of me after my court date. No biggie. So he's like, yeah, sounds good. So I had a court date the next day, and it was early in the morning. It was like 9 or 10 a.m., if I remember correctly. I don't remember the time that they did their court dates. I know the county that I'm in now, they do them at like 8:30, but this county did them a little later. They were a little more chill about it. But either way, it's kind of sad that I know that, dude. I've been through court for a lot of dumb shit, a lot of stupid shit. But either way, so I drive up the next day on my suspended license in my beautiful, trusty, reliable Volvo. This car was just, listen, it had a lot of miles on it. It was very old. It was a really old Volvo 240, but it was a tank, and it got me from point A to point B every time I needed it to. So, it did the job. I whipped this thing on up there, and I stuck to the back roads, because I wasn't really trying to get pulled over on the highway. I mean, the plates still weren't registered to me yet. This car was just scuffed, So I'm driving it up there. I cruise on up there, and it took me a couple hours because I wasn't going on the highway. And I wasn't really planning to drink any lean yet. I surely didn't have any. And at this point, I'd also only drank it a few times, maybe a handful, Lean was something that I had never really made a habit out of. It was something that, if given the opportunity, I would probably have a couple sips, maybe take a couple lines. But in general, it wasn't something that I was doing frequently, and I certainly wasn't buying it for myself, except for one particular incident, which we talked about in the Trap House Tales. But other than that, it was something I never made a habit out of. At this point, I had just brought a little bit of weed with me. That's all, just a little bit of za, and I was probably going to grab some liquor when I got up there. So I cruise on up there, and I get there just in time to attend court. It was an early morning drive. It was nice and chill, taking the back roads, and I go to my court date, and it was still a very early hearing, so nothing really happened. I was kind of jagging a little bit, and I didn't even have a lawyer at this point, if I remember correctly, so this was still the stage when I was really early into it. Nothing serious was happening, but I still had to be there because this was before COVID. Nothing happened on Zoom. You're either there or your lawyer's there for you, so I had to pull up. But the court date went by pretty quickly. I got out of there, and it was early in the morning. It was like 11 o'clock, maybe a little before that at this point. So I start hitting up my homies trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the day, and no one's answering. It's too early in the day, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, fuck, dude, you know? I mean, I brought like some goodies with me. I've got a little bit of weed. I guess I could go get some wraps, but it's like 10 a.m. I cannot check into any hotel yet, you know? Like that's not going to happen. So I got to figure out what to do. I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think. I message Brad and I'm like, yo, man, you up yet? Like, what's the play? And he's not answering at first. So I'm like, fuck. I go back out to my car and I'm sitting there for a little bit and I don't go anywhere. I'm just sitting in the parking garage trying to figure out what to do. I'm like, fuck, man, you know, like what's the play? There's some bars around that like just opened, but at the same time, I wasn't really trying to get drunk at 11 a.m. You know, I mean, I was definitely trying to get stoned, but I wanted to kick it with some people. I needed something to pass the time, and I knew that if I went to the bar for the next like 4 hours that I had until check-in, I wasn't going to make it to hotel check-in. I was going to get fucked up in that bitch. So we had to improvise. I'm sitting in the car hitting up everybody, and I decide, fuck it, let's just go cruise around a little bit. So I'm driving around, looking around, and I pass a smoke shop, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Let's get some wraps. Let's prepare for later. I pull up to the smoke shop, and I realize very quickly that the only spot in front of it is a parallel parking spot. I don't have a rear view camera. I said review. I'm fucking stupid. I didn't have a rear view camera on this car. I didn't have any sort of cameras. It was a very old Volvo. So I was not folding for that shit. I had to go park down the block and walk up to the smoke shop. So I park down the block. I walk my ass up to the smoke shop and I go in there and I grab myself some Swishers along with a nice new disposable. It's looking like a good day. I've passed like maybe 15 minutes of my time at this point, but you know what? We got the loadout now. It's looking better. Now, miraculously, almost like God sent him, Brad responds to me. It had been like 30 minutes at this point. I was starting to lose hope. He responds to me. He's like, yo, what's good? So I am over the moon. I'm like, yo, dude, my court date just ended. I have nothing to do. Like, what are you doing? I have some weed. Let's fucking get baked. And he's like, bet, dude. Come through. He sends me his location, and I realize pretty quickly that he's in the dorms. He does not have his own apartment or anything. He's in the dorms. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, I mean, how, like, can we smoke in there? You know, I tell him, I'm like, you know, where are we going to smoke? He's like, dude, we can just like smoke in your car or some shit. And I'm like, damn. It's really like we're in high school again, huh? Like, this is fucked, you know? But whatever, I'm down. So I go pull up, and I'm a little lost when I pull up to his dorm. I'm like, how the fuck do I get in here? And he's like, bro, don't worry about it. Like, I'll come get you, you know? Just park up. So I park up, and he comes down, daps me up, and gets me, and he goes back up to his dorm room. Now, he's got a roommate. This roommate ended up being quite a character. I've never met this guy before, and I'm pretty sure I never saw this guy again after this day. But this dude, what are we going to call him? You know, actually, I know for a fact I definitely didn't see this guy after this day because Brad wasn't in a dorm for very long. He got a different spot, like outside of the dorms, like halfway through, dude. He dipped on that shit. But either way, back on topic here. What are we going to call this guy? Let's call him Andy. I don't know. I feel like Andy is just like a fitting name for him, you know? He's a random ass dude. We'll call him Andy. So he's got a roommate that we're going to call Andy. Now, Andy, it turns out, is someone who, you know, he's also kind of into the drugs. I can tell that not through conversation, but more so by the fact that, you know, there's two separate areas of this room. And there's one that is very clearly Brad's because it has a lot of the shit that he's always had over there. I mean, it's got the same hoodies that this dude would wear 3 days out of the week. I clearly knew that side was Brad's. And on the other side was Andy. Now, Andy had this little nightstand on his side that had a very peculiar good on it. Goods, plural, actually. He had numerous pill bottles on there, and he didn't look very sickly to me, so I don't think he necessarily needed them. But this man was very, very about it. We're sitting in there, and I'm chatting with him. I'm like, oh, you know, what's your name? Like, are you from around here? Well, you know, how long have you been going to school? That kind of shit. He's like, oh, yeah, you know, this is what I'm in school for, yada, yada. I don't fucking remember what he was in school for, but, I mean, I asked him all the basic introductory questions, and Brad's sitting there, and he's like, you know, like, let's go smoke, bro. Like, let's roll up. So I bust out the little bit of weed that I brought with, and they had some weed as well. Andy busted out some pretty okay shit. I had brought some shit that was from the dispensary, but back in these days especially, the Illinois dispensary weed was really fucking mid. So this shit I busted out was not great, but his shit was also not great, not very great at all. So we had matched on the mid to create the mega mid, the ultimate mid blunt, and we rolled this up in my beautiful swishers that I brought with me, and we went out to my car and we hotboxed that shit. I was looking around, I was like, does no one care if you smoke out here? And they're like, no, yeah, it's cool if you smoke out here. You're supposed to come out here to smoke. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we just hotboxed the shit out of the good old Volvo. We're chatting it up a little bit, and me and Andy are getting along, I kind of liked the guy. He was, he was a chill dude. He was pretty funny. I could also tell that he was definitely off more than just the weed. I could tell that he was fucked up. And I asked him, I was like, yo, so like, what have you guys been up to this morning? Yeah, I didn't want to ask him, like, what are you fucked up on? You just blatantly look at him and be like, yeah, you're fucked. But, I kind of tried to get to it. I was like, so what have you guys been up to today? Like this morning, what have you guys been doing? He's like, oh, we've been sipping. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, we've been sipping this lean, bro. Like, we just got some lean. And I'm like, okay, like, I'll buy some from you. I'll definitely try some. He's like, for sure, bro. Like, it's legit, like, for sure. Come check it out. We'll show you when we're done smoking. So we finish this blunt and we go back up to his room. And once we get back up there, Andy busts out this little bottle. It's supposed to be a pint. It's imitating a real pint. But I can tell right away by looking at this bottle that there's a few things very wrong here. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not a very avid lean drinker. I never have been and probably never will be. But this bottle was so bad that you could tell without knowing much about lean that this was 99% fake. The print quality on the label was so low resolution, it was unbelievable. I mean, it looked like this print was in like 144p YouTube quality. It was ridiculous. Some of the small text on this label, and he handed me the bottle, so I'm looking at it, and some of the small print on this label was almost illegible. Like, you just could barely fucking read it, right? This shit was awful. And the worst part is, this was imitating a pint of wok. So this was not trying to be like, one of those like low-key, kind of easier to get brands. No, dude. Pints of wok in 2020 were very expensive. More expensive now. I don't even know if they fucking exist anymore. I doubt they do. But back then even, that was something that was not really around, Like, people were drinking other shit. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not, maybe the lean head's going to come in my comments like, Goblin, you know what? I had 5,000 pints of wok stored in my lean distillery in my basement. You're wrong and you're a fucking idiot. But as far as I'm aware, I'm not wrong and I'm not a fucking idiot. Now, despite seeing all of these problems with the bottle, I still fold. I don't really know why. I mean, my current self definitely wouldn't, but you have to remember that this was almost 3 years ago, and at this point, I was still a raging drug addict. I was doing pretty much anything that I could get my hands on. So this didn't really, this didn't scare me. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Hey, a little bit of Fent juice, like, oh, whatever, I mean, that thought probably never actually crossed my mind in the moment, but you know what? I just didn't give a fuck. So I was like, oh yeah, bro, like, how much? And Brad, he was like, hey, I'll pay for you. Don't worry about it, bro, which I really appreciate. He was like, dude, like, it's on us. Don't worry about it. Very kind of him, but I insisted. I was like, nah, bro, like, listen, let me cover it. I'll pay for it, even though that shit was foo. But I didn't want to let him pay for it. At least I'll finesse myself. How about that? So I offered to pay. I was like, yeah, like, let me just get a little bit. I didn't really know how much to ask for it because I didn't know it was actually in this bottle. So I was like, yeah, just give me however much you want to give me and just tell me how much I owe you, right? So this guy just pours this shit straight into a solo cup. And then he's looking around for something to mix it with. He doesn't pour the drink in first and then the lean like you normally see the cool kids do. No, he just poured that shit in first. He was like, fuck it. And once he pours it in, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, that just doesn't look right. It was a very, like, light color. Like, it was almost like too light, and it was very watery. You know, lean is thick, right? Lean is a thick substance. When you pour it, it's not just gonna flow like that, you know? But this just looked a little like almost thin. You know, it had this consistency that was, it's hard to describe. It was almost like fucking mucus. It was kind of nasty, honestly, but this shit just didn't look right. And at this point, I should have stopped myself, but nope, I sure as hell didn't. Now he's looking around for something to mix this with, and he hands me the cup after looking around for a little bit, and he's like, you know, I'm sure I got some shit, but you could just drink it like this if you want. And I'm like, excuse me, dude? Like, I didn't actually say that to him, but I'm just sitting there like, this motherfucker just said what? Like, I'm about to drink this fucking Zan juice just straight up? I need something with it, you know? So I'm like, oh, you know, like, maybe, and I kind of prefer something with it, you know? And he's like, all right, you know, I'll keep looking around, and he's looking all over, and eventually, I don't know why it took him so long to find a beverage, but this guy digs out a can of soda, a can of ginger ale to be exact, and he's like, oh, you know, I got this'll work, and I'm like, bet, you know, no problem. I'm not a crazy ginger ale drinker, but I mean, for this context, I'll take it. I'll fucking take it. So I pour some ginger ale in my cup, and that shit is just, listen, even though it was poured in first, a lot of it was not staying at the bottom. Like, it really kind of like, it really mixed up with the drink very quickly, which spooked me a little bit. It looked a little too thin and liquidy, but once again, I didn't give a fuck, you know? I mean, it was a little concerning, but whatever. We're here, we're in this shit. They've been sipping it, and they're alive, so fuck it. Let's get to it. Now, I drink this shit, I just slam my whole cup. I'm not a slow sipping kind of guy, you know? Let's not waste any time here. The few times I've drank lean, I'm sipping that shit like a shot, dude, all right? Down the hatch, brother. We're going for it. So I just slammed that shit, bro. I just chugged it, and they were like, damn, bro, like, you don't got to drink it like that, you know? Like, you can sip it slow, and I was like, oh, fuck it, you know? Now, the taste it had, pairing it with ginger ale allowed me to really taste it, and this shit did not taste right. It tasted like someone had already dropped one of the grape Jolly Ranchers in it. It was super overly sweet, and it was not right whatsoever. Now, I want all the wok historians, all the real lean experts to come in my comments and tell me, how is wok really not supposed to taste down to a T? Because I'm not a super expert on lean, okay? I've drank lean before, but like I'm not lean god, all right? So I want the wok historians in my comments today. Thank you. But either way, back on topic here. I slammed this shit, and we're chilling for a little bit. You know, we're just talking, having a good time. They've got a little Xbox One set up in there, so we're gaming on the Xbox, having a grand old time, you know, trading off the controller, playing zombies. They only had 2 controllers, but whatever. I mean, we made do. We made do, you know what I'm saying? So we're chilling out, just chatting it up, and maybe 45 minutes went by, and strangely enough, I did feel something. The strange thing is, though, I just felt kind of barred out, which is what made me call this Zan juice earlier. Because although I didn't necessarily taste it, I mean, bro, I don't know what the fuck was in this shit, but I felt it, and that's the scarier part. I almost wouldn't have been concerned if I didn't feel it, but no, I felt this fucking goddamn Zan slush. I don't know what to even call it. I don't know what was in it, but I just felt a little stupid. I just felt like a dumb son of a bitch at this point. So I'm sitting there and we're chilling out, and after I start feeling it, you know, I'm starting to feel a little lit, a little stupid, and I blurt out the idea that we should get some liquor. I'm like, yo, let's go hit a liquor store, bro. And he's like, yes, dude, let's go. There's a liquor store up the block. They're both down for it. Andy and Brad, they're fucking down for the cause. So we walk over to this liquor store, and I didn't realize how stupid I felt until I stood up. This shit was honestly strong. Whatever this concoction was, it was strong because I stood the fuck up and I felt heavy. I felt slow. I was walking a little bit skewed, like I would stumble every now and then, but I wouldn't fall, and it wasn't like a serious stumble. It was just sometimes every now and then I would kind of trip up over myself. I felt like my reaction time was just lagging, and I felt fucking brain dead. I genuinely felt like I was missing at least 7 chromosomes. But we walk over to the liquor store and we get on in there, and I had nothing to do with picking out the bottle. I'm standing there just browsing around until I noticed that Brad and Andy are already checking out of this bitch. So I walk over and I'm like, what'd you guys grab? And they've got a bottle of fucking Smirnoff. Now I get it. They're college age, they're in college, and I'm not in college, but I'm certainly the same age. But like, come the fuck on, bro. Come on, man. We can do better. We can do better, but whatever. I'm not complaining. I was feeling brain dead off whatever mystery concoction I had just drank. So I was down, We dipped out of there and we got back to the dorm room, and we're just passing the bottle around, taking straight shots out of it. Now, I got really fucking drunk, really fucking quickly. I'm talking violently drunk. We're passing this bottle around and we're just nonstop taking swigs out of it. And for some reason, I was just immune to the burn of this liquor. Normally, I can't do straight swigs of vodka because my throat starts burning. My chest is just like, no, it's just not happening. But on this particular day, off the 9-pill drink that I drank, the magical concoction, I was just ready for it, dude. I was slamming these bevies, right? Going ape shit, just down the hatch with every single swig of this bottle, right? So eventually, after maybe another hour and a half went by of pretty consistent swigs out of this bottle, we had crunched this bottle. I mean, this thing was gone. It was maybe longer than an hour and a half, more like 2.5 hours, but we had destroyed this thing, and I was fucking drunk. I had the spins intensely. The lean was starting to wear off a little bit, and I used lean very loosely because I don't think that's really an appropriate word, but you know what? We're just going to refer to it as lean for the sake of the story. So the lean had kind of started to lighten up a little bit, but now I was so drunk that I didn't really know. Like, maybe it was just the combination, or maybe it was just the liquor. I don't know, but I was not feeling well, so I'm just sitting there dying, dude. I'm fucking dying. I end up laying down. I'm like, yo, bro, I gotta fucking lay down, dude. Like, I'm too drunk. And they're like, Brad's like, yeah, go for it, dude. You could just fucking lay down in the bed over there or whatever. So I lay there and I'm dying, and I end up slumping. I slumped for like an hour, and I woke back up, and they're still just sitting there playing zombies. I woke back up feeling much, much better. Granted, I still was drunk, for sure. I woke up and I was still good to go. And I don't know how I woke back up so quickly off this concoction that I was intoxicated on. Maybe it was the volume of the zombies. I don't know. Something woke me up. But either way, I woke back up feeling much better and much, much more ready to rumble. So we opted to smoke some more weed at this point. We're like, yo, now that you're back in action, let's smoke some Zaz. So we roll up another blunt. We match with the power of the mids to create the mega mid blunt. And we went out to the parking lot and we sparked that bad boy up. Now we're sitting there. And Andy's like, you guys want to drink some more lean? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, bro. Like, I mean, I'm still kind of drunk, like kind of not feeling that great, And he's like, oh, okay, like for sure. Just let me know, bro. Like I got you. So we smoke this blunt and we go back up there and we're just chilling out. We are chilling like some fucking villains, dude. And he pours up another round of this shit. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take some more. Let me know how much I owe you. And he's like, just give me like $20 and we're good for the day. Like we're chilling. Just throw me a 20. So I didn't have any 20s on me, but I ended up hitting him on Venmo, and I sent him the 20, and he passed me a cup, and all is well. All is good. I've got another cup of this shit, and I decided to sip it a little slower this time. I learned my lesson last time. This concoction, whatever it was, whatever opiates or Xanax or whatever combination of shit was in here, oh, I felt it. I felt it all right. Hey, sometimes you get some fake shit and it just doesn't hit, and sometimes you get some fake shit and it's a different drug. This is one of those times where I got some fake shit, and it was just something different. But it was still kind of hitting, and I was still kind of down for it. So I got my second cup, and I sipped it much slower. And this helped out a lot, you know? This really helped me out. I was still feeling pretty stoned, and, you know, sipping it much slower just kind of helped me feel more relaxed and not as overly fucking retarded, you know? So finally, you know, I had reached a point where I was able to function a little better. I'm able to play my zombies. I'm slowly sipping my foo-foo lean throughout the evening, and I chilled there for a couple more hours until it was time to go check into my hotel later that evening. I had finished my cup a couple hours prior to when I left. You know, it was maybe like 5 o'clock at this point when I ended up leaving and going to check into my hotel. And I dipped and I went and checked into my beautiful Marriott, which was not very beautiful. It's like your average college town, you know, express hotel. It's pretty mid. And I checked in there and I fucking slumped. I don't know if it was just all the smoking or all the foo-foo lean or what it was, but I was exhausted. So I got in there and I knocked the fuck out. At like 6 p.m., I felt like a grandmother. It was fucked. The lean aged me about 60 years. That's crazy. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to head over to goblin420.com to check out the new merch. All of it is 15% off all month long, no matter the order size. Even if you just get a sticker, that is still 15% off all November long. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, gamers.